Hello and welcome back to for the very first time to the channel. I am William Gwynn and today we are going to be talking about my top 10 favorite reads of all time. It's taken quite a while to get to this point. I've done a countdown from my 80th favorite read all the way down to today when we will be finishing that list. So before we get into it, let me know what your favorite books of all time are. Let me know what you think mine will be. And now without any further ado, let's get into it.
So let's kick this list off, shall we? And I'm going to begin with A Monster Calls in the number 10 spot. I talked about another one of Patrick Ness's books way down the list, and that was The Knife of Never Letting Go, but I absolutely adore A Monster Calls. This is about a boy coming to grips with his mother having cancer. So his estranged relationship with his father and his being severely bullied at school leads to a strange dreamlike visit, and a few of those from an age-old tree who attempts to teach this boy some life lessons. So yeah, it's kind of fantastical but kind of dreamlike as well. You can see that this is in the boy's mind, so it's not really fantastical, but it's got scenes that are, and in that kind of dreamlike vision state that some of these most powerful scenes arise. And A Monster Calls is very impactful, very moving. It made me really cry. There is a film adaptation of this where Liam Neeson is the tree, but I did not enjoy the film anywhere near as much as I enjoyed the book. And Sigourney Weaver's in it as well. She is his grandmother in it, and so yeah, it's a good film, but I far preferred this. Such a powerful book. As I said, it moved me to tears, and the culmination is not over sentimental, but it's just about telling the story of human life. And this boy, he is put through so many trials and tribulations and tragic events that you feel so much for him. And Patrick Ness does such a great job of making all these characters feel real and engaging you in their lives and making you feel attached to them, whilst at the same time having kind of in the subtext some life lessons, some didactic messages to the reader as well. But it's not too forced. It feels very natural and organic, so I love that kind of balance of a bit of a commentary on how we should live our lives, but it's very subtle and it's up to us to decide at the end. It's just a few nice little suggestions, but yeah, as I said, heartbreaking story told in such a beautiful, visceral way. And in the number 9 spot, I have Normal People by Sally Rooney. It's a romance, but there's too much tragedy to call it a romance, to be honest. The main characters, Connor and Marianne, are two of the best characters I've ever had the pleasure of following in a book. It's absolutely incredible, and the way that they feel so vivid and real and well realised and authentic. It's absolutely exceptional how Sally Rooney has done this in a book. And I've read her debut, which was Conversation with Friends, and I've read her book after, Beautiful World, Where Are You? And she is just an exceptional, I'm going to say that a lot in this video, she's an exceptional character creator because they all just feel so real. She gives them flaws and virtues in a way where we really feel like they resonate to us, and at least I did, and I know millions of other people have, especially since there was the TV adaptation of Normal People, which blew the world away. It was quite a phenomenon, and rightly so in my opinion, because it was absolutely brilliant. And yeah, Normal People really just captured me. Very different from what I would usually read, but it really hooked me, and it shows that sometimes you should just go outside of your comfort genre, and outside of your comfort zone into another genre is what I meant to say. And yeah, and it really paid off this time. And yeah, Sally Rooney is one of my favourite authors now, and Normal People is just an exceptional book. And next up in the number 8 position, I have a series that needs no introduction. This is A Clash of Kings, Book 2 of A Song of Ice and Fire, the sequel to A Game of Thrones written by George R.R. Martin. So yes, this may be done a bit to recency bias, but I don't think so. I think it is one that will age like a fine wine, and I think it may even go up in my estimations over time because I absolutely adored this. I read it in October, I believe, and absolutely loved it. I really enjoyed A Game of Thrones, but this really just blew me away. Tyrion just rose to become one of the best characters ever, and I've never watched the programme. I watched season 1 a few weeks before I read this, and I thought I liked the programme, didn't think it was too great. I much preferred the book, and A Clash of Kings has just gone up from A Game of Thrones, and I'm currently reading A Storm of Swords and loving that as well. So this is firmly asserting itself in my favourite series of all time list, and yeah, it's not really giving me any wiggle room with that. And so yes, A Clash of Kings, absolutely brilliant, fantastic characters. The sheer quantity of quality characters is just astounding, and the history and depth to the world, I love it. I'm a stats person, I love learning about the histories, and this is one of those rare worlds where you can really just dive into it and you still won't know everything after researching it for 10-15 hours. The only other one I can think that comes close is, of course, Tolkien's Middle-earth. I'm not sure if Malazan is like that or Wheel of Time. It may be, but I've not read them, so I wouldn't be able to comment on that. But from everything I've read, this is almost unrivaled. And yeah, Clash of Kings, it's just perfection. In the number 7 spot, I have The Road by Cormac McCarthy, Pulitzer Prize winner and possibly his most famous and praised work. So yes, The Road, this is post-apocalyptic. We're not sure what has happened, but something has occurred which has destroyed much of the world. We're not sure if it's an environmental crisis which has left the world basically dead, or whether it was a nuclear war and there's just very few survivors. But the point is, even the people involved do not really know, or if they do, they just don't want to think of it. They have too much to deal with trying to survive day to day. This is a book about survival, preservation, and a little slice of hope at maybe there is somewhere better, but it's that hope that keeps them going. Without that, there would just be no point. But this is a book about the relationship between a father and a son, and it's very beautiful. In such a bleak, sparse landscape, there's a very beautiful relationship at the core, and they basically say nothing to each other, but it's what's left unsaid that is powerful. You see the love that goes between them, and this father, he will do anything for his son, and that is why he is carrying on. He's almost given up on his own life, and his only purpose now is trying to keep his son alive. And this is such a tense story that rises and rises in tension, and it's not epic as such, it's not large scale, but there are scenes that feel so tense and they feel epic in themselves. And yeah, this, as I said, it's about survival, and this is in a world of anarchy, so the people who you meet are probably not going to be very nice, and they're going to be trying to assert their own survival above your own and probably exploit you, because there are so few resources in here in this world that everyone has to take what they can. So yeah, it's it feels pessimistic and cynical, but at the same time, it's I think Cormac McCarthy is a bit more optimistic than usual because he has two characters you actually like at the core of the story. So yeah, that is The Road. Thought it's brilliant. I've read it 3 times, I think, and I definitely need to read it again. It's my 7th favourite book of all time. So now in the number 6 spot, after this we'll be halfway through, and this is Enemy of God by Bernard Cornwell, the 2nd instalment of the Warlord Chronicles. So yes, I'm very happy that a lot of the fantasy booktubers have been reading this lately, and yeah, I'm so happy that they seem to be enjoying it overall. Enemy of God, this is an Arthurian retelling, and Bernard Cornwell does an absolutely exceptional job to present it from a fresh lens. Of course, the Arthurian legend is so popular in all forms of medias and mediums, from TV, films, books, short stories, and so on, that sometimes it can become a bit dull because it is a fantastic story in my opinion. But when you hear something told 20-30 times in only slightly different ways, it can get a bit repetitive, can't it? A bit monotonous. But Bernard Cornwell certainly does not fall into that category. He found a way to go back to the roots of the Arthurian legend, much of what has been dropped along the way over millennium, and he revived them, such as the main character being Derval, and he was written in some of the original Welsh monastery scripts about Arthurian legend. So it's awesome that he brought things like that back. And as I said, that provides a fresh lens. Merlin is absolutely hilarious. Arthur, I would follow him. I would actually follow him into battle. Derval is, I want him as my best friend, and Lancelot, I hate that man so much. The way that he subverts your expectations of Lancelot is absolutely brilliant. One of the best characters. It's one of those you love to hate, that he's written so well that he makes your blood boil, but you're enjoying the whole experience. Lancelot is certainly one of the best characters I've had the pleasure of reading off of the page. And Enemy of God, this is the middle instalment of the Warlord Chronicles, and it made me cry. And also it has possibly the best romance of any book. Romances, I feel, it is so hard in a book, of course, because you have to rush it, basically, because the romance is a few conversations and then you have to be, and you don't have too much time to do more than that. But the way it's done in Enemy of God, I believe these people love each other. I really actually believe it, whereas in 95% of books I read, I accept it. I'm like, okay, yeah, but I don't actually believe it. But Bernard Cornwell really did in such a small page time. I don't know how he did that, but yeah, he's truly a master of his craft, and I think these are his best works. And yeah, absolutely love Enemy of God, hence why it's on this list, surprise, surprise. So yeah, my number 6 favourite book of all time, and I think this is the last historical fiction I've got on the list. In the number 5 spot, we're in the top 5 now. We're in the end game. And in number 5, I have Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. This is the second installment of his original First Law trilogy. And it takes what its predecessor did so well and then builds upon it and makes it absolutely brilliant. Any romanticism that there is about war or anything like that is absolutely just stripped. We are disillusioned. It is taken away. There's no glorification to anything, and I literally mean anything. Life seems so bleak in these books, but the dark humor which infiltrates all of these characters' pages is just absolutely brilliant, and it takes away from how bleak the world seems. If it was just that without any humor, I think this would be a very, very draining read in some ways, but I love how it plays into the humor, and Joe Abercrombie uses humor so well as a means to both make you laugh and, as I said, add a bit of mixture and variety to the bleakness of the world, but also it really enforces the depth of character. Like, there's a character called Glockta, and the way that he uses sarcasm and the contrast between his inner monologue and what he actually says, it's funny, but it also says so much about his character, and there's so much depth to it. So when we come to some of those quieter moments that are actually moving, impactful scenes about the character, it really hits home because Joe Abercrombie has so carefully but subtly been working on these and making us understand the characters to the full, their motivations, their desires, their self-loathing for the main part, or how much they love themselves. There's a scene where one of the characters, he's looking at a mirror and he thinks, this is the jaw of heroes, isn't it? And you just hate him in that moment. But as I said, similar to Lancelot, Enemy of God, you love to hate him. And yeah, this is absolutely brilliant book. Joe Abercrombie subverts your expectations so well. He takes a lot of those traditional tropes, but then, as I said, subverts them into something entirely new. And this is a fresh wave of fantasy that he started, the wave of grimdark fantasy. And in my opinion, he's done it the best. He was one of the first, and he's one of the best. And yeah, Joe Abercrombie, one of my favourite authors, and that's why so many of his books have been on my list of favourites. But this is my very, very favourite by him, hence why it's my 5th favourite book of all time. In the number 4 spot, I have Assassin's Fate by Robin Hobb, the 3rd book in the Fits and the Fool trilogy, and the final book in the entirety of this 16-book series of the Realm of the Elderlings. And the main characters or most of the main characters in this book are present in the Farseid trilogy, the Tawny Man trilogy, and as I said, the Fits and the Fool trilogy. So yes, we feel so attached to these characters because Robin Hobb manages to have so much growth, which feels so human, and she manages to do it in a way where it doesn't detract from what the character has gone through in the previous series. Often, I think sequel series can be a bit disrespectful to what happened before and make them seem a bit like void and like they didn't even matter. But Robin Hobb keeps them in a sense that feels so respectful and keeps your love for them all burning bright. And the way that she deals with the characters in this book and their finale, their conclusion, is just absolutely brilliant. I loved it. And this is the way she ends it. I just thought she wouldn't be able to end it, but the way she did, absolutely exceptional. I've probably, other than Papa Gwyn's books, I don't think I've ever cried so much at a book as Robin Hobb, and this one in particular. So Assassin's Fate really caught my mind. I absolutely love it. I'll be rereading The Realm of the Eldlings throughout 2023. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a lot more tears. So yeah, that is my 4th favourite book of all time. So as I may be considered biased, I decided not to make this top 10 list 9 of the books by Papa Gwyn, because that may be seen as a bit, as I said, biased. I mean, I'm his son, but I don't get where people are coming from when they say that. But I still have to have some. So in the number 3 spot, I have The Shadow of the Gods, book 1 of the Bloodsworn saga. And it was so hard to talk about it, to choose this or The Hunger of the Gods. I think I love them equally, but if I choose this, I can talk more about the premise, whereas Hunger of the Gods would be spoilers. So yeah, that's where I leant towards choosing The Shadow of the Gods for this. So this is a Norse-inspired world. It's imagine Ragnarok, the battle of the gods. The ending of the world has occurred, but this is about the aftermath, and it's in a fantasy world, so it's not the actual Norse gods. But yes, the gods have died, and what they've left in their wake is a world torn and rent by their battle. And so this is a few generations after, and it's about people re-establishing empires, basically. There's a few powers arising from the mist, from the ashes of those fires, and this is absolutely awesome. I love the found family tropes. The tales of vengeance, absolutely brilliant. I love a good dose of vengeance, and with that, as I said, with the found family and this epic story with an intimate heart to it, which really drives the characters. And I've said it before, I'm a character-driven reader, and this is a character-driven book. So, yeah, perfect for me. I absolutely love the book, and it has nothing to do with me being Papa Gwyn's sons. That just means I can ask him even more questions. So, yeah, I'm very lucky that I can pester him from day to day to ask about any questions. But he never tells me what's going to happen next. So, yeah, I don't get to know before any of you what really happens. And so, yeah, The Shadow of the Gods, absolutely love it. John Gwynne, make sure... Of course, it feels weird calling him John. Papa Gwynne makes sure that no character is safe, and he also makes sure that you know it. So it's quite scary to actually read this as well, especially when, obviously, in the Gwynne household, we talk about these characters so much that they often feel real. And so when Papa Gwynne goes ahead and kills them, it's quite a blow to the heart. But I know a lot of people absolutely love Orca in particular. She is an iconic character. And yeah, you do not want to cross Orca. So yeah, that's why Shadow of the Gods is on this list. Obviously, I'm very proud of Papa Gwynne, and The Shadow of the Gods is one of the best books ever. Don't try and change my mind. And now my penultimate book, my second favourite book of all time, and I have The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. Trying to get it out of the slipcase, there we go. It does feel wrong to put it above Lord of the Rings, but when I was thinking of this list and I was thinking of my favourite moments, my favourite characters, more of them were from The Silmarillion. Obviously, I absolutely adore The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, hence why they've both been on my list of favourites at different points. But The Silmarillion, this is essentially a history of Middle-earth. And the beginning, I can see why people would see it as a bit dry. But as you go on, this is basically a series of short stories that are interlinked and tell the story of Middle-earth. And it makes The Lord of the Rings seem so puny, whereas before it was so epic, because The Silmarillion is a step above. But it's such a tragic story, all of these together, and yeah, it makes me cry so much. And some of the stories, Beren and Luthien, the children of Hurin, the fall of Gondolin, absolutely incredible stories, and the way that I was engaged. And I love the sheer depth to the history, that it feels like a living, breathing world. A bit like the only other thing that I've experienced that is close to it is Westeros, and I'm in book 3 at the moment. So yeah, this is I'd say beyond what even George R. R. Martin has done. The time Tolkien spent and the languages he created just for this world, and all the characters, hundreds of characters, they're so brilliant. I need to do some of my favourite character lists. I'll be harking on for a long time. But The Silmarillion captured my imagination. I've read it 3-4 times, and each time there's different bits that I adore even more. And it's one that I could just talk about endlessly. So if anyone else adores The Silmarillion, please do say so in the comments below, and we can have a chat about it, because what better than to talk about your favourite books to other people. Absolutely love this book, love this story. Tolkien's an exceptional writer. Middle-earth, you can't beat it. It's so good. And yeah, as I said, the sheer depth is just astounding, and the characters, there's so many who are brilliant. So yeah, there we go. That is why The Silmarillion is on this list. And now for the number 1 spot. We started at my 80th favourite book quite a while ago now, and now we're at the number 1 spot, and that is Ruin by Papa Gwynne. I know I said I wouldn't include all 9, so I have 2, and I couldn't have any other book. This is Papa Gwynne's 3rd book in his original series, The Faithful and the Fallen, partially inspired by Caesar's Gallic War. This is an exceptional book. It's got the best duel ever, in my opinion. It's got my favourite character ever in the Old Wolf. It made me sob. I still haven't forgiven Papa Gwynne for how this book ends, and I know hundreds of people haven't. On Goodreads, there's a group where for all John Gwynne books, it's called The Banished Lands and The Bloodsworn, and so many people, when they finish Ruin, have commented on the topic and said that they cannot forgive him for that ending. And yeah, neither could I, and he wouldn't tell me what was going to happen next. So I also, like everyone else who was reading at the time, had to wait a whole year to find out what happens next. But such an epic series with such a astounding and mind-blowing overarching plot, but at the core it's about the characters. They're at the heart of it. It's about their love and friendship and camaraderie for each other, about trying to do what is right, about struggling to do that in a world which is so cruel and unforgiving. And this is a world roaming with magical creatures and prophecies and giants and massive animals. So yeah, you've got the whole mix there. And the cast of characters is just awesome. I absolutely loathe some of these characters, and I absolutely love so many of the others. And of course, this has so much nostalgia. That it took Papa Gwyn 10 years to write Malice, and I think from when he started writing The Faithful and the Fallen to when he finished and Wrath was published, I think it was 14 or 15 years. So much time where Papa Gwyn has been telling stories of his characters over the dinner table, where we feel so attached to them. So of course, nostalgia is a part of it, and I may be considered a bit biased in that way, but still, I think that even without that, this is an exceptional book, and we need more. It was very bittersweet when The Faithful and the Fallen finished, and Ruin is my favourite instalment of the series, and I'm very lucky that this book is actually dedicated to me. So yeah, I love that my favourite book ever is dedicated to me. How lucky am I? I absolutely love Ruin, and truth and courage is the best saying ever. You can't convince me otherwise with that either. So yeah, that is Ruin, my favourite book of all time. So there we go. They are my top 10 favourite books of all time. So thank you so much for sticking with me to the end. If you want to watch the other videos of my top 10s, if you haven't already, then you can check my channel and they will be strewn about on there. As I said, thank you so much for watching and for supporting the channel. If you like these books, please let me know in the comments below. If there's books that are similar that you would recommend, let me know. If any of these are on your TBR, let me know. Basically, anything about these books or any books, let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to talk to you about them and other books, as I said down there. Anything bookish, I love to talk about. So yes, please do, and stay safe.